Hey folks, this is Rainer here from tradingwithrainer.com. So first and foremost, I'd like to wish all dads out there a very happy Father's Day, alright? So because without our fathers who brought us into this world, there wouldn't be any of us here on this planet on this very day. So let's take some time to, give thanks to the man who brought us to this world and, who made us who we are today. So yep, with regards to the FX markets, right, I think I've mentioned before that the market's actually pretty quiet. Volatility is actually a pretty, I think, multi-year low if you ask me. And thus opportunities are pretty limited if you are looking to swing trade or position trade. So instead of talking about setups and more setups each week, I'd like to discuss with you something I would say very important or one of the most important aspects in trading, alright? So what I would like to talk about today is actually knowing when you're wrong. Knowing when you are wrong. Right? This question, or I would say this sentence has been ignored by many traders or new traders who are starting out, right? Because every time they put on a trade, they do not know when they are wrong. So the moment you do not know at what price that you will be wrong, meaning that your analysis is invalidated, right? You will not get up the trade. So if you do not know when you're wrong, you will not use a stop loss. You'll not use a stop loss. So when price goes against you, you'll start to hope that price goes back in your favor, right? So you start to hope that price goes back in your favor, but more often than not, price usually starts to go even further against you. So one of the two things can happen. One would be you either couldn't withstand the pain anymore and you manually cut your trade, right? When you could have actually cut it at a much favorable price if you had a stop loss. Second thing that could happen is that you had a margin call. So yep, this is actually it's one of the two things that would actually happen if you do not know when you are wrong. So today I'd like to talk a bit about knowing when you're wrong. So let's look at a silver trade to illustrate my point. So this silver trade, alright. So I said I was actually looking to buy around $19, alright. So for most traders who look at this silver trade, we look at the weekly chart. You can see it's in a downtrend, alright. It has been pretty bearish since February last year. So yep, it's been a downtrend, but the downtrend line has been broken. So price could either range from now on or further break out of this support around here at $19. But for me, I had a bullish bias because you're looking at it at a technical perspective. You have a downtrend. However, I had the what you call it, a bullish bias because I noticed that the $19 has been tested three times that it has failed to be broken, and there's also fundamental reason that this $19 could hold. So I took a punt, alright? It's a counter trend trade. Nonetheless, I was willing to bet that the $19 would hold, so I went long on $19. So what happened for traders, for example, let's look at the daily chart, alright? If they went long at this pin bar over here, right? What most traders should do, long at this pin bar over here at support level, and stop loss will be below this low over here. Fair enough if they tell themselves that's my stop loss is below the low of the pin bar, because that's what most forex gurus out there tell you, to put your stop loss below the low of the pin bar. However, looking back at the bigger picture, right? Take a step back and look at the bigger picture. I zoom out a little, and you notice that this entire zone over here is actually a support area. Support is not just a particular price level, but it's an area, alright? Area where price could be expected to have a bounce from. So if you were to cut just below the low of this pin bar over here, right, you have to ask yourself, is that where you know you're wrong, right? So because if you do place your stop loss below here, you are actually, I would say, getting out of the trade with a small loss. However, you're actually cutting into this green support area where you actually expect price to bounce off. So does that tell you that you're wrong? I wouldn't say so actually, because you are actually not wrong should price retrace further against you. So because of that fact, you need to understand that where you put your stop loss has to be at a logical area to know when you are wrong. So for me, or at least the more conservative way to put your stop loss will actually be around here, around this low over here. Alright, so because perhaps what happens is that if these lows get invalidated here, it could potentially hit lower. So I would say for those of you who long the silver trade, get your stop loss at least below this green box over here, because that's when you know that you'll be wrong should price goes lower than the green area. So yep, that's one aspect of knowing when you're wrong. Okay, so let's look at another trade. The British pound, Swiss franc, right? The daily chart. Okay, let's see. It's a trade that I took and I got stopped out, right? Because I saw price at this resistance, came back, test, bounce off, form this bearish pin bar over here, and I tell myself, should price trade above this high over here, I know I'm wrong. So what happened is that I got stopped out for a small loss and price did go higher. But what if I had not put my stop loss down there, or I traded without a stop loss? I'll be even greatly under the water by another 150 pips if I do not have a stop loss. So I would say before putting on each trade, you really need to know when you are wrong, right? Sometimes you could be cutting into a resistance area, or for example, like earlier, you could be cutting into a support area. So I'll say look left, look where price is, where is the support area, and look at a logical area, or should I say a logical price, to know that should price trade at that area, you know you are wrong, right? So that's the two important thing I would like to share with you this week. And regarding setups, I guess the only interesting thing that I'm looking at right now is actually the Aussie New Zealand, right? You can see that price is still in a downtrend. However, recent weeks it has formed this slight upward trend line over here, but nonetheless the main trend is actually still down. So I'm looking to sell Aussie against the New Zealand. So we can see that last week what price did was it formed this bearish engulfing pattern, right? Or we can call it a bull trap, because traders who long on this breakout over here, a couple weeks later they know that price actually go against them, and they are now, in a loss or probably cut their trade already. So yep, this bearish engulfing pattern over here, what it did was did a bull trap, and those who went long are actually suffering right now. So for us who are on the sidelines, we can look at it and we actually look to get short the Aussie against the New Zealand. Looking at the daily chart, where I look to get short is should price retrace up towards the 109 level in the coming week. Alright, I look to sell around here and get my stop loss above this swing high over here. First profit target wise would be at this swing low over here. And the next thing I'll be looking at is I'll watch if price can break this multi-year low over here. If can, thus I'll look to hold on the remaining second half of my position for a further move lower. So yep, that's for the Aussie New Zealand and the only trade setup I'll be looking at this week. So to recap, okay, because I feel that's so important, is that before putting on each trade, you need to know, right? Know when you are wrong, right? Do not cut for the sake of just putting your stops below the low of the pin bar, right? It may be logical most of the time, but for example, of the silver trade earlier, it's not logical to put your stops below the low of the pin bar because you are still cutting into a support area. So always know when you are wrong. Alright, so that's all I have for you guys this week. I hope you guys enjoy my analysis, and I wish you good luck and good trading. Thank you.